The divorce did not begin when Guillermo saw Kara with another man. It began when Kara looked him directly in the eyes and lied about where she had been. That difference matters because one photograph can be misunderstood. A strange angle can make a harmless moment look intimate. A hand near someone's back can appear more meaningful than it really was. But a false story does not happen by accident. Guillermo is sitting across from Kara with divorce papers resting between them. Kara is crying. Her voice is shaking. She keeps insisting that nothing physical happened.
Guillermo barely reacts.
He is not shouting. He is not demanding another explanation. He is not even asking about the other man anymore. He quietly tells her, "This is not about one picture." That statement reveals why this marriage may already be beyond repair. Only 2 days earlier, an unknown number sent Guillermo several photographs. One showed Kara leaving a restaurant beside a man Guillermo had never met. Another showed them standing close near a parked car. Then came the message that changed the entire meaning of those images. This was not their first meeting. Now Guillermo has 2 separate problems. The first is what may have happened between Kara and that man. The second is how many times Kara may have lied to protect it. And the second problem quickly becomes more serious than the first. Because Guillermo can survive seeing one suspicious photograph. What he may not survive is realizing that Kara created an entire second version of her life. One version was for her husband. The other was for the man she claimed was only a professional contact. The biggest question is no longer whether Kara crossed a physical line. The biggest question is why she needed so many lies if the relationship was innocent. And once Guillermo begins pulling at that question, almost every explanation Kara gives starts falling apart. Several weeks before the photographs arrived, Guillermo already felt something changing. Kara started coming home later. She kept her phone close. She became irritated by ordinary questions. When Guillermo asked about her day, she gave him short answers. When he asked who she had been with, the details often changed. One night, she said she had spent the evening with friends. Later, she mentioned that work had kept her busy. Those 2 explanations could both be true. But Guillermo noticed that the story seemed to depend on when he asked. That is where his suspicion started. Not with proof. With inconsistency. Guillermo did not immediately confront her. That choice says a lot about the emotional balance inside their marriage. He worried that asking too many questions would make him look controlling. He did not want Kara accusing him of insecurity or jealousy. So he tried giving her space. On the surface, that sounds mature. But there is a danger in relationships where one person constantly worries about how reasonable questions will be received. Guillermo may have been protecting Kara's comfort while ignoring his own instincts. He was not asking where she was every minute. He was noticing that her answers did not match. There is a major difference between controlling someone and asking for basic honesty. Kara also started mentioning a new professional contact. She said he could help with a future opportunity. She spoke about the possibility, but she never used his name. That detail may sound small, but it becomes important later. People usually do not hide the names of ordinary business contacts from their spouses. They may forget to mention someone once, but repeatedly avoiding the same name starts looking intentional. Kara could later argue that she never denied knowing him. Technically, that might be true, but avoiding the truth is still a form of controlling it. She gave Guillermo just enough information to prevent questions, but never enough information to understand the relationship. That is the pattern that begins defining this entire story. Partial truth, then denial, then another partial truth. Guillermo learns the man's identity on the same night Kara says she is meeting a female friend. He is at home when his phone receives the photographs. At first, he does not know what he is looking at. Then, he recognizes Kara. She is leaving a restaurant with the man she never named. They are not standing on opposite sides of the parking lot. They appear comfortable together. The man's hand is close to Kara's back as they walk toward a car. Again, that image alone does not prove an affair. People can stand close without being romantic. Someone can guide another person around a car without intending anything inappropriate. But Guillermo knows Kara did not tell him she was at that restaurant. She told him she was somewhere else with a female friend. He calls her. She does not answer. A few minutes later, Kara sends him a message. She says her phone was inside her bag, and she only just noticed his call. Guillermo looks at the photograph again. The picture appears to have been taken around the same time. That is the moment suspicion becomes something much more damaging. Kara is not simply avoiding an old question. She may be creating a new lie while standing beside the man she is hiding. Guillermo now faces a decision. He can call her again and confront her immediately. Or he can wait and see whether she tells the truth without knowing he has evidence. He chooses to wait. That decision creates one of the most revealing moments in the entire story. When Kara comes home, Guillermo acts calm. He asks how her evening went.
Kara says it was fine.
She explains that her friend had personal problems, so they stayed out longer than expected. Guillermo asks whether anyone else joined them. Kara says no. He gives her another opportunity. He asks whether anything unusual happened. Again, Kara says no. At that point, Guillermo is not fishing for information. He is testing whether Kara will choose honesty when lying is still available. She chooses the lie. Then Guillermo places the photographs on the table.
Kara freezes.
For 1 second, she has no answer. But instead of apologizing, she asks who sent them. That reaction becomes another warning sign. Her first concern is the source, not the lie. Not Guillermo's humiliation. Not the fact that her husband has just discovered her secret meeting. She wants to know how she was exposed. Now, to be fair, someone receiving secret photographs of themselves may feel watched or violated. Kara has a right to question who took them and why. But that issue does not erase the false story she told Guillermo. Both things can be wrong. Someone may have invaded Kara's privacy. Kara may also have deceived her husband. Focusing entirely on the photographer allows her to avoid explaining her own behavior. Kara finally says the man is the professional contact she mentioned before. She claims the dinner was connected to a possible business opportunity. She says she did not mention it because nothing had been finalized. Guillermo asks a very simple question. Why did you say you were with your friend? Kara says she thought he would misunderstand. That response sounds protective, but it actually confirms the secrecy. She is admitting that she predicted Guillermo would be uncomfortable, then removed his ability to respond. She made the decision for him. That is not avoiding a misunderstanding. That is controlling what information your partner receives. Guillermo asks why a professional meeting ended beside the man's car so late. Kara says he offered her a ride. Guillermo reminds her that she drove herself. Now the explanation changes again. Kara says they were only continuing their conversation outside. That could still be innocent. But each new answer appears only after the previous one collapses. And that is why Guillermo stops believing the details. He is no longer listening for one perfect explanation. He is noticing a pattern where the truth expands only when evidence forces it to expand. But the photographs are not his strongest evidence. Guillermo has already seen a message from the same man. Kara had left her messaging account open on a shared device. Guillermo says he did not intentionally search through her conversations. A notification appeared. The message read, "I wish last night had ended differently." That sentence does not explain exactly what happened. It could refer to an argument. It could refer to a missed business opportunity. It could also carry a romantic meaning. The words are ambiguous. The deleted messages around them are not. Guillermo asks why parts of the conversation were removed. Kara says she deletes messages regularly. That explanation might work if the entire conversation had been cleared. But certain portions are missing while other messages remain. The remaining messages show that Kara and this man have been talking for weeks. Their conversations are not only professional. Kara tells him she feels trapped. She says she feels misunderstood. She questions whether Guillermo truly supports her. She shares private frustrations about her marriage with a man Guillermo did not even know by name. That is where the emotional betrayal becomes harder to dismiss. Kara may continue arguing that she never physically cheated. She may be telling the truth. But physical contact is not the only boundary inside a marriage. Emotional access matters too. Kara gave another man access to the weakest parts of her relationship while keeping Guillermo outside those conversations. The other man knew when she felt lonely. He knew when she was angry. He knew what she believed Guillermo was failing to provide. And while he gained more emotional information, Guillermo received less. That imbalance is the real threat. A friendship does not automatically become inappropriate because someone discusses marriage problems. People need support. They speak with friends, relatives, counselors, and coworkers. But secrecy changes the meaning. Deleted messages change the meaning. Lying about a private meeting changes the meaning. And allowing the other person to believe the marriage may be ending changes everything. In a storyline like this, viewers would probably split into different groups. Some viewers would say emotional venting is not cheating. They would argue that Kara needed someone who listened without criticizing her. Others would say the secrecy itself proves that Kara knew the relationship crossed a boundary. A third group might focus on Guillermo. They may wonder whether he had emotionally withdrawn before this connection began. Those questions are fair. But relationship problems do not automatically excuse deception. If Kara felt trapped, she could have told Guillermo. If she wanted more independence, she could have said it directly. If she was questioning the marriage, she could have asked for counseling or space. Instead, she created a private connection with someone who had a personal interest in her dissatisfaction. That is not communication. That is emotional outsourcing. Kara finally admits that she enjoyed the attention. This may be the first completely honest thing she says. She explains that the man listened to her without judging her. He made her feel interesting again. He made her feel independent. That confession helps explain her choices, but it does not erase them. Attention can become addictive when someone feels overlooked. At first, it may seem harmless. A compliment feels good. A private conversation feels exciting. Someone new appears curious about feelings that a longtime partner may have heard many times. But the danger begins when that attention must be hidden. Kara says she never planned to leave Guillermo. Then she admits she did not want the meetings to stop. Those two statements reveal the emotional arrangement she was trying to maintain. She wanted the stability of her marriage. She also wanted the excitement of being wanted by someone else. She may not have intended to choose between them. She may have believed she could keep both as long as the boundaries remained unclear. Guillermo asks whether she told the man that she was unhappy in her marriage.
Kara says yes.
Then he asks the question she has been avoiding. Did you let him think he had a chance with you? Kara says she may have been unclear. That answer destroys the final part of her defense. Being unclear sounds passive. It makes the situation sound like a misunderstanding that developed on its own. But Guillermo sees something more deliberate. At home, Kara continued acting like a committed wife. With the other man, she presented a marriage that was weak, lonely, and possibly ending. She created two emotional realities. One protected her home. The other protected the attention she was receiving. Guillermo tells her she was not confused. She was benefiting from the confusion. That is a powerful distinction. Kara says he is making the situation bigger than it was. This is where the conversation stops being only about the other man. Now it becomes about emotional accountability. When someone is hurt, minimizing their reaction creates another layer of damage. The first wound comes from the hidden behavior. The second comes from being told that the behavior should not hurt so much. Kara wants Guillermo to focus on what she says did not happen. She says there was no physical affair. Guillermo is focused on what clearly did happen. She lied. She deleted messages. She hid repeated meetings. She discussed their marriage privately. She allowed another man to believe the relationship was ending. That is enough to damage trust, even without proof of physical contact. Guillermo does not start screaming. He walks into the bedroom and packs a small bag. That calm response frightens Kara more than anger would. Anger still creates engagement. It invites another argument. It gives Kara another opportunity to explain, defend, and redirect. Silence means Guillermo is no longer fighting for control of the conversation. He is leaving it. Kara follows him through the house. She says they can fix the problem. She says marriages survive mistakes. Guillermo answers that a marriage cannot be repaired until both people admit what was broken. Kara believes the problem is suspicion. Guillermo believes the problem is deception. Until they agree on that, every apology will fail. Kara also appears more focused on stopping him from leaving than understanding why he wants to leave. That is another important relationship pattern. Fear of consequences can look like remorse. The person cries. They make promises. They suddenly become open and emotionally available. But the real test comes after the immediate crisis passes. Do they remain honest when no one is threatening to leave? Guillermo does not trust Kara's sudden transparency because it arrived only after discovery. He tells her that every answer has been forced out. First, she denied meeting the man. Then she admitted the dinner. Then she denied the emotional connection. Then she admitted enjoying the attention. Then she claimed the man misunderstood. Then she admitted she had been unclear. That is not one confession. It is a series of smaller truths designed to survive each new piece of evidence. Guillermo leaves and stays with a trusted friend. While he is away, the other man contacts him directly. This is where the situation becomes even more complicated. The man claims Kara told him that her marriage was already ending. According to him, Kara described herself and Guillermo as roommates. She said they had discussed separation. Guillermo knows that conversation never happened. They had conflicts. They had emotional distance. But they had not agreed to end the marriage. The man also says Kara talked about traveling with him for a work event. Guillermo knew nothing about those plans. That revelation does not make the other man trustworthy. He knew Kara was married. Even if he believed the relationship was struggling, he still participated in a hidden connection. He may also be protecting himself by placing all responsibility on Kara. A section of viewers would likely question his motives. Why contact Guillermo now? Is he trying to clear his name? Is he angry that Kara pulled away? Is he sharing the complete truth or the version that makes him look innocent? Those questions remain open. But Guillermo does not need every word from the man to be true. Kara's own behavior already supports part of his story. She told him she was unhappy. She hid the meetings. She deleted conversations. She admitted that she allowed the relationship to remain unclear. The most damaging possibility is that Kara rewrote her marriage before officially leaving it. People sometimes do that to reduce their guilt. They tell someone new that the relationship is already dead. They describe their spouse as distant. They present separation as inevitable. Then they return home and continue accepting the security of the marriage. That creates an emotional triangle where only two people know the triangle exists. Guillermo realizes Kara may have discussed their future with another man before discussing it honestly with him. That is when his response stops looking like jealousy. It starts looking like self-protection. Before returning home, Guillermo meets with a divorce attorney. This decision changes the tone of the story. He is no longer reacting inside one emotional argument. He is gathering information. He asks about finances, housing, property, and what separation would mean. That does not prove he has stopped loving Kara. In fact, it may prove the opposite. He still loves her enough to know that another conversation could change his mind. So, he makes the legal decision before returning to the emotional pressure. Love remains present. Trust does not. That is what makes the marriage feel unsafe to him. He cannot tell which version of Kara he will receive. The version who denies everything. The version who admits only what he can prove. Or the version who promises complete honesty when she fears losing him. The attorney gives him documents. Guillermo returns home carrying an envelope. Kara sees him walk through the door and believes this may be their chance to start over. She has prepared dinner. She has written a letter. She tells him she understands why he is hurt. For a moment, it looks like Guillermo may reconsider. Then he asks one final question. Have you contacted him since I left? Kara says no. Guillermo already knows that is false. The other man contacted him earlier that day. During that conversation, Guillermo learned Kara had sent a message demanding to know why their private discussions were exposed. Kara says she only wanted an explanation. She says she was not continuing the relationship. But that is not what Guillermo hears. He hears another lie after Kara promised there would be no more lies. This may be the most damaging moment of all. By this point, Kara understands the stakes. She knows honesty is her only chance. She knows Guillermo is prepared to leave. And she still gives him the answer she thinks he wants to hear. That suggests lying is no longer only a reaction to fear. It has become her way of controlling the situation. Kara appears to decide what Guillermo should know based on what he can prove. That makes real reconciliation almost impossible. A marriage cannot rebuild trust when one partner must investigate every answer. Guillermo takes the documents from the envelope and places them on the table. Kara begins crying. She repeats that she never physically cheated. Guillermo tells her he cannot prove what happened physically.